And as Leo talked about what I do and how I earn a living, which was smart waste. Smart waste is how I make money. That's how I provide for my family. But WCS is a little bit different, right? It's a little bit different in terms of the community. It's a little bit different in terms of kind of what I get back in return, right? And what I get back in return is an opportunity to lead an organization that has a similar mindset and objectives. And I always remind everybody of those same objectives pretty much every time we meet. So if you've been in an in-person chapter meeting with me, and those of you that are in the room will know that I always talk about what those things are, just as a reminder, because when we have a group of people together like we do today, I want us to keep in mind what those objectives are and why we're collectively moving and having meetings and whatever committee you may be on as a member or as an attending, whatever panel that you attended. So I'm just going to start off by talking about those four objectives and then allow Lael to talk with me and ask me some questions. We'll see how, if I get embarrassed or not. No, I'm just joking. So the number one objective of Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability is to increase the number of women in clean tech and sustainable jobs and the leadership positions to achieve gender parity. So when I always ask, I said, this is something that you're in alignment with, this is probably a good organization to hang out with. The other objective, number two, is to be a diverse network of women in clean tech and sustainability. And number three, to be a community where women in underrepresented populations have equal access to respect, advocacy, jobs, leadership opportunities in clean tech and sustainability. And once again, if you're in alignment with these things, this is a good place to hang out. Commit your time to and, you know, come up with ideation. And then this number four is anywhere, but be a go-to thought leader and mobilizer in clean tech and sustainability. And why we have ongoing meetings, whether in person or online, is because you never know what thought leader is going to come in the room with the thought, right? And that's going to lead to influence or big impact in our objectives around climate change and instituting clean technologies and practices of sustainability, right? So these are our objectives, and I will always be the one to talk about them and make sure that we're reminded of them just because it's intentional for me. And so, thank you for being here. And that's pretty much how I want to start off our conversation today.
Nice. Thank you, Sarah. And thank you for sharing those objectives. I know a lot of heart and thought and sweat and everything else went into that. It really does. These objectives really do mean something to all of us on the board, and particularly to you who lead us. So thank you for sharing that. And I want to, we talked a lot about community just now. I'm going to take it back to your professional experience, because we just heard about your amazing professional background in the bio. So I wanted to ask, can you share with us what it's like to be the company founder at Smart Waste and the chairwoman of WCS, right? Two really big roles. What are the main lessons you've learned throughout your leadership journey?
Yeah, when you start a business, a lot of times people think that it's like uh easy, and maybe the entrepreneurs in the room understand that there's a lot more than, like Lyle said, 24 hours in a day. You're the first one in the office, or the first one up and the last one to go to sleep, or things like this type of mentality. In terms of running a business and also leading a nonprofit organization, I kind of really just learned how to compartmentalize and really how to separate certain things and prioritize and structure myself and my mind, because you have your passions, your things that really fire you up, and then you have your practical stuff that you have to have in terms of functioning as a citizen in our society, which is income and making the money, right? And providing for your family. And as a single mom, like I have to provide not only for myself, but my family that I take care of. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very practical, right? And so I think very practically, and I communicate outwardly as well. And I also solicit support. Um, and that's the other thing too. And like in the nonprofit world, when you're soliciting support, it's everybody has the opportunity to kindly decline, right? And in a business, it's a little bit different mindset. You're paying somebody and there's an objective and you have to yield a result. So there's a different kind of switch too as well, which is kind of a liberty, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're in this space, the liberties not only for yourself, but also for your board members as well, right? Like yourself and Oakley and
Mm-hmm.
any other board member that's in the room.
Mm-hmm. So that's amazing. That must be your magic. Maybe the compartmentalizing, because legit, I've seen you, handle like 15 things just at WCS alongside with running your business and being a mom and being a niece and being a sister and being everything else. And somehow actually having a personal life too. So I know you've got magic, actually, and that's a perfect segue. I didn't even mean to do that. But my next question is, we know that you are the co-host of the Trash Magic podcast, perfectly named, I've just decided, where you talk about the circular economy. So I'm wondering, why do you think the circular economy is not showcased as often in other spaces? And how can we prioritize the conversation, since it really is so pivotal to achieving sustainability?
Oh, I think we're getting to where people are more interested in circular economy, and it's exciting for me.
Hmm.
I would like to see it more in closer legislative communities
Yeah.
because how that shifts economically is maybe where that can be a contingency or an issue. And when you get into shifts economically, you get into shifts politically, which becomes another dogmatic conversation that a lot of people feel uncomfortable talking about and dealing with. So that could be another issue, which is a whole nother segue to another panel.
Yes, good point. And I know Oakley mentioned this, but I'm just going to mention this for our audience members. I do still have a couple of questions for Sarah, but think about some things that you would like to ask Sarah yourself and just pop them into that Q&A, or sorry, pop them into the chat, and we will get to them during our Q&A, or we'll try to get to them all.
Yeah, and I would say too, trash magic is something that actually came about because of WCS. And so that's also another aspect to this community is that during COVID, we were all at home in this virtual world and in a virtual meeting, and we were in a breakout room. And that was when Oakley and I got connected into a breakout room. And it was like magic happened. And it was like, did we just become best friends? And we're like, yeah. And so WCS, because of Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability, and also the pivoting of the organization during COVID, uh, just transformed, the trajectory of where I'm at right now, and is going to continue to do that for myself in our podcast and in our community of listeners and into our the people that we talk to about materials and the beginning and end of life of material.
Mhm.
So it's exciting to us conversation because we love trash. So
Who doesn't love trash?
so
Awesome.
we keep it classy and trashy.
Exactly. Perfect combo there. Well, cool. So we know WCS is an all-woman run organization, and I'm wondering, what do you do to inspire and promote women's leadership within this organization, and what are the challenges you faced being a woman holding a leadership place?
Well, I think one of the things that I really excites me about our board in general is seeing them go from entry to completing a project, completing their terms and seeing what they accomplish and how, because typically someone else before them had already established something, or they're maybe kicking off a new whole committee, and then seeing what they develop with it and how it's evolved because of what their skill sets are, and seeing that as, when you see WCS and when Lisa Ann and I kind of transitioned leadership, it's kind of like transitioning, and we looked at it as like a child in a way, like it in its entity. And then I'm like, man, I got the teenager. What the hell's going on with my life right now? Because my son just turned 14, and it was like a whole situation. And I was like, wow. But as it's like my personality is that when I see a gap or when I see a problem, my curiosity can't help but want to like go look at it and like get in there,
Mhm.
and then figure it out with everybody else that I know around me that might be interested in the same, maybe solution oriented thinking, right? So
Yeah.
that's the kind of cool thing around leadership, because they also are able to kind of collectively look at a problem, whatever that problem is. And we talk about issues and in board meetings and maybe in committees and ideations or whatever. It's amazing to see what you can get when you have an open thought process and an opportunity to actually ask for support, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So this organization is kind of magical like that.
Yeah. I'm going to add two for you, two things that you do at Inspire that you may not even be aware of. Number one, you're incredibly positive. Like any meeting we've ever had, you just bring so much positivity and encouragement. And no matter what topic it is, how uncomfortable it might be, you're able to spin it so that everyone can see the positivity to it. So I would say that's one thing that you do that's
Wow,
very inspiring.
that's
And then just you lead by example, like I mentioned in the intro, just you're like a phenom. It's just crazy to watch you like take care of everything that comes, in your space. Um, so I'm just, adding to your interview here,
Thank you.
kind of cheating you.
It's interesting to hear feedback about yourself sometimes, because you just like, oh, like that's that's how you're perceived. So it's I don't know, I don't it's interesting. So thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
feedback.
you're welcome. I know it might feel weird to say that about yourself, but I was more than happy to fill it in there. Okay, so question number 4. As we mentioned before, female leaders face many challenges, and you talked about it even in one of WCS's objectives. So women leaders face many challenges, especially BIPOC women. So if you could go back in time to your younger self, and no matter how young you would have to go to give this advice, what advice and strategies would you give to yourself and to other young women when stepping out as leaders or working in male-dominated industries? And you're actually doing both. You are stepping out as a leader and you're in a male-dominated industry. So what advice could you give yourself and other young people?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. So I think back to framework, and this goes to me being a teacher. So there's this study around neuro linguistic programming. And so how I talk to myself at that young age
Mhm.
versus how I talk to myself now. If that framework was there at, 13-year-old Sarah,
Right.
and this programming in terms of how we process information, and also how we communicate that outwardly, right? Just because when I look at my personal human design and who I am as a individual, I understand what some of my talents are, and so I would also take that into consideration, knowing that, hey, I have a particular talent, and that talent is to be a storyteller and to share stories as an example. And so if if I knew that about myself when I was younger, I would have had different programming in that sense.
Nice. Yeah.
But I'm appreciative of being a student of, human development and stuff like this.
Mhm.
So you can continue to like invest in yourself and learn from yourself and do and grow, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good lesson for anyone at any age, really. Invest in yourself and listen. All right, Sarah, we are going to open the floor for some questions from the audience. I am hoping we'll also get to those trivia questions, but let's just start with some Q&A, okay?
Okay.
All right, so question number one. How do you imagine WCS will change with you as our new fearless leader? What is your vision and hope for the future of the org?
Whoa, okay. So, well, as I started the conversation, is really just practicing and reminding our members and our, any partners around our objectives, and really focusing in on having equity in opportunity when
Mhm,
we're engaging in partnerships, when we're engaging in practices and in events and whatnot, and really, communicating where the gaps are. And so that sounds kind of maybe very broad, and but at the same time, if we're constantly talking about the same thing and being mindful, I feel like that we're going to be able to really evolve and expand and be I'm open to opportunities, and that's the other aspect as well. And I feel like perspective
mm,
is something that I come with, which is a new perspective and a different perspective because of the trajectory of how I got to where I'm at now, right? In
mhm,
terms of how I got my education, and in terms of how I started my business, and in terms of being a volunteer and working my way up towards this role, right? Every step of the way, it was something that I worked towards. And so I feel like that also sets a different example for individuals that look like me. So that to me is something that's different. That to me is something that's also very genuine and sincere. Now, that to me also puts me in a little vulnerable space, okay? And I'm also transparent about communicating that right now. Right? So having that kind of conversation is something that I'm open to and objected to because of our thought leadership mindset, right?
yeah,
When you have a thought leadership mindset, you're open to new thoughts.
well put. Okay, good. Another audience question. When members and volunteers engage with WCS, how do you hope they will feel? What kind of culture are you hoping to cultivate as chairwoman?
Want them to feel like they're in a community. I want them to feel like they are in a place where they're able to achieve something that they're looking to achieve, and also understand the energy of reciprocity, because we're a nonprofit organization, so we look for that type of energy as well. Um, and I also would hope that they would feel educated in something in their workplace, right? Because we want our women to be in leadership positions in sustainability and in their jobs. So hopefully they're getting some value, or professional development or networking opportunity, or another connection to learn something from somebody, because that's valuable. You learn a lot from other people, and humans have practical practice. So,
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, I agree, particularly when you talked about the volunteers. Some of the skills that you can learn just volunteering with WCS are pretty they're very cool, and they're also, translatable on resumes and towards any other work you want to do, or even if you wanted to start your own company, or if you want to be a part of another volunteer organization. So very cool. Um, all right, here's the next one. How can women work across the divides of opinions when you interact with others who may not share your goals and values as strongly? I think this is particularly a good question in our field in sustainability. So have at it, Sarah.
well, you, not everybody's always going to agree with your opinion. So come with that in mind, we don't always know everything about everything. So it's hard to be definitive.
Mhm.
But when you come with factual and information and data, and also um, that is hard to dispute, right? So when you come to a conversation, you got to make sure that you don't just come with your own opinion, you come with data to back that up in a scientific type of conversation, right? When it becomes around history, once again, that becomes an emotional conversation. And, it's hard to manage other people's emotions when, they may not agree, but you can always practice the art of having and being diplomatic in your message, right? And I really try to practice that. It's like making my point, making my stance, and also maybe not even receiving what they're saying to me and acknowledging that I'm not going to receive it. Because as a person, it's up to me to choose what I want to acknowledge as my truth or acknowledge as something that I'm gonna allow to impact me, right?
Mhm. Yeah, well put. Okay. Does WCS host group discussion meetings that allow members to share information and explore synergies?
We have had listening sessions. We did that with our career development committee. Um, so we did do that a couple times last year. We don't have anything on the schedule, so at the moment, but um, yeah. So
Yes.
I guess
Sounds
not
like
at the
maybe,
moment.
yeah, I was gonna say maybe it's an idea for like a virtual networking or even in-person networking or something along those lines. All right, Sarah, I'm gonna ask you to do your trivia, Sarah trivia questions.
Oh, okay, okay.
And then you have to show off the shirt, okay? Because you have to like set it
So
all up for everyone.
I have this WCS shirt on that says the future is female, and it was from our WCS Talks event that we have at Plug and Play in Sunnyvale. I believe it was in Sunnyvale, California. And it was a super fun event. So I thought it would be kind of a fun idea that if anybody knew the answers to these trivia questions, that I would send them a shirt.
So
So
if any of our audience members get all three questions correct, they get a shirt, right? So Sarah will ask a question, you put your guess in the chat, and we do have a couple volunteers watching the chat. So if any of you get all three questions correct, you get a shirt.
all right. All right. So my first question is what is my alter ego, sustainable alter ego? And my clue is that we talked about it, Oakley and I talked about it in an episode of Trash Magic. Okay, not gonna tell you the answer. Okay, so you gotta throw the answer in the chat. So I'm only gonna ask 3 questions. In high school, my team was undefeated. So what sport did I play and what position?
Undefeated, that's crazy. Well done, whatever sport it was.
It just I feel like when I say, because when I was a teacher, I'd always do Sarah trivia, and it was
Mhm.
always fun for the students and people in the audience to know a little bit funny things about, your teacher or, who you're working with. So I always think
Yeah,
it's interesting for people to know these things, like, they
absolutely.
understand why I'm a little competitive. Okay, and then my last question my last trivia question is how many siblings do I have?
Okay. Do, 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 do. Okay, so let's see, I'm reading Oakley's note. Okay, good. And Oakley's actually writing down the questions for you. And I see several people are guessing. So now we have to decide like how long do we give people to guess until you like unveil the
You can
answer?
We
tell them
do
anything.
have another question,
Okay.
so we can maybe answer that question while people are guessing.
Okay, I was gonna say you're gonna make them wait. Okay, no, that's actually a good idea.
I'm gonna make
Um,
you guys wait.
yeah. And I have a feeling this might this trivia might actually bring up more questions, but we'll see. Okay, so the question we have right now, I'll let Sarah discuss that, then we'll give you the answers. And then if you have more questions, if we still have time, we can go over those. All right, so Sarah, here's another audience question. Can you give examples of how WCS helped or will help companies improve equity of women in clean tech?
So one of the things that we're practicing right now with our community members or corporate members is membership and access to our scholarship program. And so just getting them involved with our organization. So then, whether at any stage, and then right now, in terms of equity to STEM and getting into the field, we're reaching out to different community partners, and we're piloting some things with local um, college communities. And it's once again in terms of, you know, a practice of kind of where I came from, because I started off in a junior college. So junior college was a good kind of source for greatness, I feel. So you never know. So there's some things that we're looking at, obviously still engaging with past community partnerships in academia, and open to, once again, introductions and looking for them, right?
Mhm.
So I don't know
Yeah.
if there's
I think our mentorship program also can help with that because it really guides women towards leadership roles and that sort of thing. Um, yeah, so awesome. But I like what you said about we're open to partnerships. Definitely, if anyone on the call is aware of somebody we should be working with, we would love to hear it. Sarah would love to meet them. Sarah will wow the socks off of whoever you introduce her to.
Yeah, we're always, it's when we get into corporate mindsets, that's where my business comes in a particular vertical, which is, waste management or zero waste implementation. Um, in terms of corporate culture, that's something that really requires an observer, and that's kind of where my company comes in terms of being a company that wants to create corporate culture change, and that's how we take the approach. Um, that's also, once again, an inspiration of my evolution of being in WCS, right? Because when I started, um, my company, I actually was a member, and I was inspired by all like the entrepreneurs that were around me. Um, I It wasn't something that I had a trajectory of doing because I was already working in a sustainable space. So I was kind of content, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
But once again, women in clean tech and sustainability brought this fire, and also this kind of just evolution when you're around individuals that um are not have different levels of intelligence, and have studied different things. And then when you're around them in meetings and you're able to learn and share information with them and
Mhm.
get projects done with them, you also grow and learn some things from them, and that makes you a valuable asset, right?
Yeah.
So it's, once again, I feel like I got to give a tribute to the organization, because a lot of the ladies in the room and former board members kind of dropped some nuggets and lessons in there on Sarah, right? And yourself and Oakley as well. So when you're open,
Awesome.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Okay, we do have another question, but before we get to that, I want to hear the answers to your trivia questions.
okay, we're ready.
Yes, I think we're ready, and then we'll get to the next audience question.
Okay. So my alter ego was from an episode that Oakley and I did with Chance from Viridescent, right, Oakley?
That's right. And I asked everybody the animal because I felt like it would be easier. So tell them the title and the animal.
Okay. So the title is The Protector. So my alter ego is the protector. and the animal is the bear. So, and ironically enough, I have my bear earrings on. So
That's awesome.
they're kind of hiding away.
I want to share some of the guesses from the audience though, because they all think you're very mythical. Unicorn came up, magic dragon came up, lioness,
Oh,
and also a bee, which is a sustainable spirit animal. So this is how others see you, which I think is pretty powerful.
that's, I like those. Thank you. Thank you. That's sweet. Okay. Um, okay, so then in high school, I played softball and I played first and third. And we played in Santa Clara High. So yeah, we were highly competitive and our team, it was ordained. We had played together since we were like 5 years old. Or if we didn't play together, we competed against each other. And then when we ended up in high school, we played on the same team. So
Wow.
I just felt bad for anybody that played us.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun time. It was something that I didn't plan to do, and I'm glad that I did. And um, playing competitive sports in high school was a fun practice. I used to think I wanted to go to the Olympics.
Wow.
You know, young girl has dreams.
I bet you could have done it.
Yeah. So, and
And
then
then what's number 3?
I have three siblings. I'm the oldest of four. I'm the oldest of four siblings. I'm older than them by 7, 9, and 11 years. Um, yeah, so my brother Ricky is 7 years younger than me, or older. Yeah, I'm 7 years older than him. And then my sister Vivi, and then my brother Tim. And so I always tell everybody that the pecking order starts here.
Yeah, that kind of explains a lot. You get, stuff in order right away. We know to answer to Sarah.
Well, too, it's like I always had like a funny joke because like I said, I majored in child development, so I always had like a funny joke. It was like, oh, my psychotherapist analysis is that I'm an aggressive nurturer.
Actually, that's kind of perfect. An aggressive nurturer. I like it.
It's just kind of funny because if it's unintentional, but it's just kind of the character of my makeup. So
Yeah,
now you know my secrets.
yes, exactly. Because you're a nurturer, right? That's what you say. Like you take care of people. You take care of things.
I that's like I said, I guess that would be my psychotherapist analysis of myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I have another question for you. What guidance would you give to leaders from other industries entering the sustainability industry, and trying to set their foot and finding their way up?
I would say curate, a network of 3 to 5 people that could that are willing to be a reference for you. If and references are valuable, those are persons that would be willing to, validate your character and validate your work ethic. So doing that is important because if you have somebody fact check you and everybody that they talk to is not willing to talk to them, that doesn't look good for you in order to get to where you want to go. And sometimes in any position of leadership that you want to get to, you want to make sure that you have people that that are willing to, write a letter of recommendation or willing to be a reference for you. And pretty much any board member that's ever been on the board and volunteer that's been a volunteer, I'm willing to do that because I know that they've put in, time, energy, and whatnot, right? So when I see that organically build for an individual within a community, to me, I see, I think it's easy for a leader then to grow in their workspace, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of times we feel a little bit uncomfortable asking directly for recommendations and letters and references. But one thing that I appreciate is that when someone does, and then remind you of the things and highlights things that maybe you were aware of, or maybe that you were not aware of because you don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
It's important to vocalize and communicate upward as well, and advocate for yourself,
Yeah.
because I've learned through my process of getting to any position is that you have not because you ask not, and then if someone invites you, you consider the offer. You don't always have to take the offer, but you consider it. And then you ask them questions. Why do you want me? What's important about me? What do and then you ask questions. That's your opportunity to understand what their motive and intention is as well.
That's a really good point. I think that's one part a lot of us forget to do is find that out, find out their motivation. Sarah, we have a few more questions, and I have a I have a question I want to ask you. Sorry, we have a few more minutes. And I just have one question. Hopefully you can answer this. It's kind of personal. I want to know the answer personally, but it's also personal about you. But I think it will be valuable to a lot of people on the call. And it's something I sort of alluded to earlier, which is how do you, I know you have 40 hours to R24, so I get that, but how do you find a way to juggle all of the things that you're doing and still find time for Sarah, like for a true personal time, like to go to a hockey game or whatever it is? Like, how do
Oh,
you do
like
that?
like any other meeting in my life, any other, just like this meeting,
Mhm.
any other meeting that I do, it's in there. It's a priority to me. It's on the list. It's engaged in part of where I'm at in my stage. So for health, I schedule it in. It's like a meeting, and my team knows it, and the people that I work with know. In my personal life, in my family life, I'm pretty transparent. And I really practice on being transparent, and then at the same time, um, having really kind of strict boundaries and compartmentalizing,
Mhm.
my functions.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like dancing, you know.
Yeah.
I have a friend that introduced me to slacklining, and my son started doing it during COVID. And so I will say that, when you're learning how to be a business owner, and then now being chairwoman, you kind of are going to learn how to kind of balance, and that's kind
Yeah.
of where I'm at right now, to be honest. But at the same time, I'm along for the walk, right?
Mhm.
I like it.
Yeah. Okay, good. That's probably like the critical part is that you like it. You enjoy all the things you're doing. And
Yeah.
the dance is a good analogy because you do make it look very graceful. Like there's never a time where I'm like, oh, she's juggling. Like you always look like, now I have time for this, and now I have time for this. And I know that you're accomplishing like 20 things at a time. So yeah, it's like a dance. I like that.
Well, it's not just me either. It's the appearance, I suppose, but it's not me. It's definitely the community. It's definitely my team, right?
Mhm.
The people might just see me, but it's really the team. And
Got
that's the other aspect too, to any type of individual that is practicing leadership. I feel like I also ask a lot of my board directly, do you
Mhm.
agree? Do you not agree? And I ask.
Mhm.
I think the invitation is a different part of our community, and I really like practicing that.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's true. I've definitely heard you do that a lot. Um, so I hate to say it, but we are running out of time. I know that we could probably chat for the rest of the day, and I think people would probably love for that to happen. However, we do have to wrap it up. So, audience, let's thank Sarah for her time today. Please give her an emoji round of applause for providing us great insights and inspiring us through her story. And I am going to hand it back over to
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, everyone.
Oakley. Take it away.
Thanks so much. Thank you, everyone. Sarah, I'm so proud of you, my friend. We are very lucky to have you as our new chairwoman. Just some final closeout so that everyone can take full advantage of WCS. Some events we have coming up: April 21st, the busiest month of the year, Earth Day, Earth Month. We also have an e-circle meeting, a happy hour, building a culture of innovation, spring happy hour, etc. JC has just put that link in the chat so that you can sign up for any of these amazing events. Next slide. All right, in case you're not a WCS member, I encourage you to sign up. Just scan the QR code or follow that link that was just put in the chat. And you'll get a reimbursement from tonight's event if you are not a member yet, but if you sign up today. Members get exclusive access to WCS Connect, our Slack channel that I mentioned for networking and collaboration. Feel free to reach out to me or other WCS members on the call if you have any questions about membership. Next slide, please. Corporate membership. So please take advantage of the opportunity to elevate your corporate brand and empower your team with WCS corporate membership. Learn and network with industry professionals from around the world. Join us today to take your organization to new heights. And again, all of this information will be added in the chat so that you can also see that. All right, also, this is our shameless pitch for our awesome merch, okay? We've got stickers, we've got cups, we've got shirts. And if you would like a 15% discount, use code WCS15 off, which I can put in the chat as well if it's not there already. And all right. Finally, thank you to all of our WCS volunteers. Like I said, I help manage the volunteers for WCS, and we really couldn't do it without you. So a deep, deep thank you for all of you. If you want to become a WCS volunteer, you can follow that QR code. You can also find our volunteer application on our website. All right, everyone, thank you so much. Oh, and finally, sorry, we have lots of socials. Please stay connected with us here. Thank you so much to our speakers. We appreciate your time and sharing your expertise. Thank you to Lael for moderating the discussion. And also big thank you to our volunteers and to our new chairwoman, Sara Fuentes. Congratulations. Thank you all for being here in this momentous moment. Thank you all.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.